Very good morning to all of you, my friends. I hope you guys are doing good. So, good morning, Mr. Sankaran. Good to see you again. Mr. Pratna Sarthi, I think you guys are from my previous batch, Sushil Kumar Barik. So, very good morning, everyone. For the new students, I am CA Vipin Bohra. I'll be taking care of the most of the chapters of cost and management accounting. So I request you guys to please do pay attention, focus more on the concepts. I'll try my level best to cover most of the practical questions that are given in study material. And whatever the queries you guys have, whatever the doubts coming in your mind, you guys can please post your query. I'll try my level best to resolve each and every query. I want these sessions to be interactive so you guys will enjoy the session. The more you interact, the more you will enjoy the session. Again, I repeat, focus more on the concepts rather than learning formulas. That is what I have mentioned in my previous batches. So focus more on the concepts rather than learning formula. दिमाग में ये आना चाहिए कि why I am doing all these things. It will help you for writing exams also and in your practical life. So, Namaste, Ms. Suman. Very good morning, everyone. So, let's start with my first chapter, that is overheads. As I said in the previous batches, in fact, there are three major elements of the cost, that is material, labor, and overhead. So, material and labor is already covered by Vibha ma'am. So, now I'll be starting with a new chapter, the third element of the cost, that is overheads. One second, guys. Mamta, I'm not aware about the previous chapter. I'll be discussing the chapters, whatever that are allocated to me. So for the previous chapter, you can write a mail to ICAI. They will try and address your queries. So guys, let's start with overheads. So now, when talking about the total cost of a product, when talking about the total cost, it can be classified in two parts, that is direct cost and indirect cost. When talking about the total cost of a product, it can be classified in two parts, that is direct cost and indirect cost. When talking about what is direct cost, the cost that is directly attributable, the cost that is directly attributable in manufacturing a product is direct cost. What is direct cost? The cost that is directly attributable in manufacturing a product is direct cost. When talking about indirect cost, this cost play a supporting role in manufacturing a product. This cost play a supporting role in manufacturing a product. Now, what all is covered in direct cost? Again, direct cost can be classified in three parts. That is direct material, direct labor, and direct expenses. Further, when talking about indirect cost, it also covers indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expenses. Indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expenses. So, let me complete, Kiran. By the end of this explanation, you will be able to understand what I want to explain. So, guys, when talking about total cost, it can be classified in two parts, that is direct cost and indirect cost. What is direct cost? The cost that is directly attributable in manufacturing a product is direct cost. Direct cost covers direct material, direct labor, and direct expenses. When talking about indirect cost, the cost that play a supporting role in manufacturing a product is indirect cost. Indirect cost also covers indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expenses. Now, let me explain this practically with the help of few examples, that what is direct material, direct labor, and direct and indirect expenses. So let's take a very basic situation. Let's say I'm the manufacturer of shirts. I repeat again, let's say I'm the manufacturer of shirt. Now these shirts are made up of what? Very simple, guys, fabric. So fabric is what? Direct material. But let's say these shirts are stitched in machine, and for the smooth functioning of machines, I need some sort of lubricating oil or grease. So this lubricating oil or grease are nowhere present in the final product. But yes, for the smooth functioning of machine, we need lubricating oil or grease. So that is what we call as indirect material. So when talking about the shirts or trousers industry, these shirts and trousers are made up of fabric. So this fabric is what we call as direct material. And the supporting cost, that is for the smooth functioning of machine, we need lubricating oil or grease. This lubricating oil or grease are nowhere present in the final product. But yes, they do play a supporting role in manufacturing a product. So that is indirect material. Another example, let's say I am into business of cakes and chocolates. Now let's say these cakes are made up of flour, chocolate or choco powder, milk, egg. So these are the major ingredients that are used to manufacture a cake. So this is what we call as direct material. Now, to maintain the hygiene standards, again, my chef uses apron, chef cap, hand gloves. So these hand gloves, chef cap, aprons are nowhere present in the final product. But yes, to maintain the hygiene standards, I have to use these material. So this is what we call as indirect material. I hope you guys are thorough with direct and indirect material. Again, one more example. Let's say I'm the manufacturer of wooden furniture. Now these wooden furniture are made up of wood. So this wood is what we call as direct material. Now, to paste the wood, we are using some kind of glue or fevicol. So this glue and fevicol is what we call as indirect material. Suman Goyal, direct. Now, when talking about direct and indirect labor, so let's say these shirts are manufactured in factory. Now, I'm paying, I have a dedicated team of 100 workers who are into stitching the shirt. So whatever the wages that is paid to them is what we call as direct labor. I repeat again, these shirts are manufactured in factory and I have a team of 100 workers who are stitching the shirts. So whatever the wages that is paid to them is what we call as direct labor. Now, to supervise the work done by them, I have kept 4 supervisors. They are nowhere directly involved in manufacturing of shirt, but yes, I need supervisor so that the worker can work efficiently. So the amount paid to supervisors, is what we call as indirect labor. So the amount paid to the tailors who are actually stitching the shirts is what we call as direct labor, and the amount paid to the supervisors who are supervising the work done by the ultimate workforce is what we call as indirect labor. Another example, let's say I have kept a gatekeeper or a watchman at my factory. I have kept a gatekeeper or a watchman in my factory. Again, he is nowhere directly involved in manufacturing a shirt. But yes, for security reasons, I have to keep a gatekeeper or a watchman. So the wages paid to them is what we call as indirect labor. Another example, let's say I have kept a housekeeping staff to maintain the cleanliness in the factory. Again, this housekeeping staff is nowhere directly involved in manufacturing a product. But yes, I do need a housekeeping staff to maintain the cleanliness. So whatever the amount that is paid to the housekeeping staff in the factory is what we call as indirect labor. I hope this part is clear, direct and indirect labor. When talking about indirect expenses, and direct expenses, direct expenses can be power, coal and fuel, amortization of molds and dies, or amortization of technical know-how fees, etc., etc. Whereas when talking about indirect expenses, there is a long list, never-ending list. Rent, electricity, depreciation, audit fees, and all is covered under indirect expenses. So I hope this part is clear to all. That is direct material, indirect material, direct labor, direct expenses, indirect expenses. Now, if you guys have any doubts, you guys can please post your queries. Okay, Suman, it is a direct cost. Prashant, this is the way I do, my dear. Mr. Srinivasan, it may differ from product to product and industry to industry, my dear. Very good morning, Ms. Shweta. Good morning, Sakshi. Okay, so depreciation on machinery is indirect cost. Thank you so much, Kiran. It's an indirect cost, Shyam, because it is nowhere present in the final product, Shyam. Anyone else having any doubts, any confusion in your mind, you guys can please post your query. I repeat again, for the students who have joined a bit late, when talking about the total cost can be classified in 2 parts, that is direct cost and indirect cost. When talking about direct cost, the cost that is directly attributable in manufacturing a product is direct cost. And when talking about indirect cost, the cost that play a supporting role in manufacturing a product is indirect cost. Direct cost covers direct material, direct labor, and direct expenses. Indirect cost covers indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expenses. That's great, Suvati. Thank you so much. Mr. Durga, thank you so much. Anyone else? So depreciation on machinery is indirect cost. Again, in every industry, Mr. Srinivasan, there can be direct cost and indirect cost. So when talking about automobile industry, we can say the steel, the steering, the mirrors, that what we can what we are using is what we can call as direct cost or direct material. And there are many types of indirect material that are used in automobile industry, my dear. Mr. Anmol, when talking about machinery, it's an asset or investment. It will not form part of cost, but yes, the depreciation on machinery is what we call as indirect expenses. So any sort of fixed assets, that is machinery, plants and all, they are not cost, they are assets or investments. They are assets. So the depreciation on asset will form part of indirect expenses. Manish, I have not. Again, Manish Kumar, depending upon the facts and circumstances of each case, can you be please more clear which point you are asking for? I request you guys to please copy this explanation. Now, guys, from this chapter point of view, we'll be focusing only on the indirect cost. This part we are not going to discuss at all. From this chapter point of view, we'll be discussing only this part. And when talking about the indirect cost is only known as overhead. So what is overheads? The indirect cost. That is, indirect cost is basically the overheads. And indirect cost can be indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expenses. So what is overheads, guys? The indirect cost is basically the overheads. Now, when talking about overheads or when talking about indirect cost, when talking about indirect cost or overheads, this indirect cost can be incurred at 3 stages. Indirect cost can be at the factory level. It can be at office and administration level. And it can be at selling and distribution level. So these indirect costs are incurred at 3 stages. That is, first one is at the factory level, second one is at office and administration level, and the third one is at selling and distribution level. When talking about, I'll write few examples. That is the indirect costs that are incurred at the factory level. It can be either depreciation on machinery, rent of factory premise, it can be indirect wages, supervisor salary, it can be depreciation on plant, etc. When talking about the indirect cost at office and administration level, it can be rent of office premise, it can be postage or telegram, Salaries, if it is given, it will form part of office and administration overheads. Audit fees, etc. When talking about the indirect costs that are incurred at selling and distribution level, it can be carriage outward, advertisement expenses. If you are distributing any sort of free samples or depreciation on delivery vehicles, salesman salaries, etc. So this is the illustrative list, guys. So when talking about overheads, what is overheads? Basically, the indirect cost is overheads. Now, overheads are incurred at three stages, that is factory, office, and selling and distribution level. So indirect material, indirect labor, indirect expenses can be incurred at factory also, office also, and selling and distribution also. I request you guys to please copy this explanation. If you guys have any doubts, then you guys can please post your queries. When talking about the cost, Shweta, it's a broader term. Cost cover direct and indirect cost both. And overhead, when talking about overheads, what are overheads? Basically, the indirect costs are overheads. I'll be discussing this part, Kiran, don't worry. Anyone else having any doubts, queries, you guys can please post your queries. I request you guys to please copy the explanation. So guys, when talking about the meaning of overhead, what do you mean by overhead? The indirect cost. When talking about indirect cost, what is indirect cost? The cost that play a supporting role in manufacturing a product. Now, what indirect cost covers? Very simple, indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expenses. Now, these overheads are incurred at three stages, that is factory, office and administration, and selling and distribution. So this is all what about the meaning of overhead. I request you guys to please copy this explanation. If you guys have any doubts, you guys can please post your queries. Okay, so when talking about packing, again, if it is a primary packing, it will form part of direct cost, that is direct material. When talking about the secondary packing, then it will form part of selling and distribution, Shweta. I request you guys, this is just an illustrative list, guys. So I request you guys to please copy the explanation. Thereafter, we'll proceed further. Any doubts, Mr. Srinivasan? Anmol, any doubts? Kiran, any doubts? Mr. Sheikh, when talking about carriage inward, it will be added to the cost of material. So it will form part of direct material. I repeat again, when talking about carriage inward, it will form part of cost of material. So it will form part of direct material. So it will be covered in direct cost, that is direct material. We'll surely try to, Miss Soumya. I hope the letter and words are visible to all. I have discussed few example, Mr. Srinivasan, when talking about, let's say, the furniture industry. I have discussed that the wood that is used is direct material, and the glue or nuts what we are using is what we call as indirect material. I have discussed one more example when talking about the cakes industry. The flour, milk, egg, yeast is all we call as direct material. When talking about indirect material, the chef caps, aprons, hand gloves that they are using is what we call as indirect material. So this is the practical example. So now let's proceed further. So before starting with this, before proceeding further, let me give you a brief about what all we'll be covering in this chapter. The first is meaning of overhead that I have already discussed. So the first part, that is meaning of overheads, I have already discussed. The next part what we'll be discussing is distribution and absorption of overheads. The next part what we will be discussing is distribution and absorption of overhead. There are two terms, that is distribution and absorption. So we'll be discussing these two parts separately. So distribution and absorption of overhead. Thereafter, we'll be discussing meaning and treatment. Meaning and treatment of under/over absorption of overheads. Meaning and treatment of under or over absorption of overhead. What is under or over absorption? I'll be discussing this part in detail. Thereafter, we'll be discussing few questions on calculation of machine hour rate and few miscellaneous points. So this is the summary of the chapter. The first part, that is meaning of overhead, I have already discussed in detail. So when talking about overhead, what is overheads? The indirect cost. Indirect cost is what? The cost that play a supporting role in manufacturing a product. Indirect cost covers indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expenses. This indirect cost is incurred at three stages, that is factory, admin, and selling and distribution. So this part is already over. Thereafter, we'll be discussing distribution and absorption of overhead, meaning and treatment of under or over absorption of overhead, machine hour rate, few questions on machine hour rate, and few miscellaneous problem. So this is the summary of the chapter. I request you guys to please copy this explanation. I request you, Soumya, to please use laptop for better understanding and clarity. Admin sir, are you there? Manish sir, are you there? The letters are visible, na? Perfect, na? Okay, great. So guys, let's proceed further with the next part of the chapter, that is distribution and absorption of overhead. Now guys, there are various stages in distribution and absorption of overhead. Let me give you a brief about what all we'll be discussing in distribution and absorption of overhead. When talking about the first stage, we do estimate the overhead. So estimation of overheads. The first stage is estimation of overhead. Now, from examination point of view, this information will always be given in the question. आपको कोई भी हार्ड वर्क करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Examiner will give you the details of what all overheads are incurred by the company or what all are the estimated overheads of the company. So this information is always given in the question, that is estimation of overhead. So this information is always given in the question. Thereafter, we will allocate the overheads. So thereafter, the next stage is allocation of overhead. Thereafter, apportionment of overheads. Thereafter, reapportionment of overhead. And the last stage is absorption of overhead. So these are the various steps or stages in distribution and absorption of overhead. When talking about allocation, apportionment, and reapportionment, this is basically distribution. So distribution covers allocation, apportionment, and reapportionment. And after distribution, we will absorb the overheads and we'll calculate the absorption rate that we will use to charge the overheads to a particular product or to a particular job to calculate the total cost. So this concept is a bit confusing right now. So don't worry, guys, I'll be discussing the concept of absorption in detail. But right now, when talking about the brief summary, the first step is estimation, thereafter allocation, thereafter apportionment, then reapportionment, and the last step is absorption. I request you guys to please copy this explanation. Thereafter, we'll start with the distribution of overheads first. And once after distribution, we will start with the absorption part. I request you guys to please copy this explanation. Every company uses the basis of apportionment consistently, so it will not change every year. Manish Kumar. And it is a standard way and it is more logical and practical. So every time the company does not changes the basis of apportion. The ones they have identified the basis of apportionment, they do use it consistently over the years. Good morning, Mr. Dev. So guys, let's start with the distribution of overheads. Now, let me discuss this concept that why we need to distribute the overheads. See, अगर हम लोग कोई भी काम करते हैं तो first we should understand that why we are doing this and then we start with the process. So my point is why we have to distribute the overheads. What's the need of distribution? What's the logic behind distribution? So let me discuss this situation. I mean, let me discuss this concept with the help of a practical example. So let's say I'm the manufacturer and I have two production departments wherein I do manufacture two types of product, let's say mobile phones and laptop. I do manufacture two types of product. I have two production department wherein in the first department I do manufacture mobile phones and in the second department I do manufacture laptop. Now, when talking about the direct material cost, separate material cost is incurred for manufacturing mobile and separate material cost is incurred for manufacturing laptop. So when talking about material, that is direct material, separate cost is incurred for mobile and separate cost is incurred for manufacturing laptop. मोबाइल का मटेरियल डिफरेंट है, लैपटॉप का मटेरियल डिफरेंट है, so these costs are incurred separately. When talking about the direct labor cost, again the cost is incurred separately. Let's say I have a team of engineers who are specifically into manufacturing mobile and I have one more team of engineers who are specifically into manufacturing laptop. So this cost is also incurred separately. Now, thereafter, again, the direct expenses also, these costs are also incurred separately for the two production departments. So my point is, when talking about direct material, direct labor, and direct expenses, the costs are incurred separately for every product or production department. Now we have to calculate the total cost of a product. So my point is this the total cost? Is this the total cost, that is direct material, direct labor, and direct labor expenses? Is this the total cost? So the answer to this question is no, guys. This is not the total cost, because apart from this, there are many other costs that are incurred as a whole. We call them as overheads. And to calculate the total cost, we need to consider the overhead cost also to these two production departments to calculate the total cost. I repeat again, guys. When talking about is this the total cost? No, this is not the total cost. Apart from this cost, there are many other costs that are incurred as a whole. We call them as overheads. Let's say rent, electricity, salaries, depreciation. These costs are incurred as a whole. एक साथ incur होती है. So to calculate the total cost, we have to charge these overheads to these two production departments. But the point is how to charge. So what we have to do, we have to first distribute these overheads to these two production departments. Then only we can calculate the total cost. So I hope this part is clear, that why we need to distribute, because these costs, that is the indirect costs, are incurred as a whole. एक साथ incur होती है. अब दो production department है, दोनों का total cost निकालना है, तो क्या करना पड़ेगा? We have to first distribute the overheads among these two production departments. Then only we can calculate the total cost. So I hope you guys are clear that why we have to distribute. Again, when talking about the electricity, it will form part of indirect costs. So it will form part of overhead, Shweta. So I repeat again, guys, when talking about direct material, direct labor, direct expenses, these costs are incurred separately. हम लोग इनको अलग-अलग कर सकते हैं. But apart from these direct costs, there are many other costs that are incurred. We call them as overhead. वो एक साथ इकट्ठा incur होता है. So the point is how to distribute the overheads. So how to calculate the total cost? So what we have to do, we have to distribute the overheads first, then only we can calculate the total cost. So this is all what the concept of distribution, that why we need to distribute the overheads. Now the point is how to distribute the overheads. Now the point is कि distribute क्यों करना है? I hope this part is clear to all. Now the point is how to distribute the overhead. how to distribute the overheads. So when talking about distribution, it can be either allocation of overhead or apportionment of overhead. Mr. Srinivasan, the common costs are basically the overheads, my dear. See, direct material, direct labor, direct expenses are incurred separately. But the common cost, that is the overheads, we need to charge to the two production department. So for charging, we need to distribute first, then only we can charge and calculate the total cost. So the common cost need to be distributed to calculate the total cost. Thank you so much, Divya. Well said, Suman. Well said, Hardik. Well said, Miss Kadambari. Perfect answer, Miss Tanishka. So the common cost, that is overheads, need to be distributed to two or more than two products or production department to calculate the total cost, Mr. Srinivasan. Now, so when talking about distribution of overhead, it can be either allocation of overhead or apportionment of overhead. There are two terms, allocation and apportionment. One of the students raised the query, sir, what is the difference between allocation and apportionment? So guys, let's discuss these 2 points, that is allocation or apportionment, with the help of a practical example. So let's say I'm a manufacturer and I do manufacture two types of product. Let's say mobiles and laptop. Now, we have to distribute the overheads to calculate the total cost. So let's say there are few overheads that are incurred. Let's say supervisor salary. Let's say I have appointed 5 supervisors and salary I am paying is rupees 10,000. So total 50,000 I am paying to the supervisor. 1 second, guys. These are the following estimated overheads, wherein when talking about the supervisor salary, let's say it is 50,000. For the rent is given in the question, let's say 1 lakh rupees. Let's say electricity is given in the question, 60,000 rupees. Now we have to distribute these overheads. 3 overheads. I am taking an example to discuss practically that what is the difference between allocation and apportionment. So let's say these overheads are given wherein supervisor salary is 50,000, rent is 1 lakh and electricity is 60,000. These are overheads and these overheads need to be distributed to the various products or production department to calculate the total cost. Now let's say the supervisor salary is 50,000 and some information is given in the question that 2 supervisors are appointed for the mobile department and 3 supervisors are appointed for the laptop division. I repeat again, some information is given in the question wherein it is given that out of 5 supervisors, 2 supervisors are supervising the work done in the mobile department and 3 supervisors are supervising the work that is done in the laptop department. So herein we can easily distribute this cost. Since 2 supervisors are supervising the work done in mobile department, so 2 into 10,000, that is 20,000 will be distributed to mobile division and 3 into 10,000, that is 30,000 will go to the laptop division. Now, some information is again, when talking about rent, information is given in the question that we have taken two premises on hire, premise first and premise second. When talking about the rent of premise first, it is 60,000, and when talking about the premise rent of premise second, it is 40,000. This information is given in the question. I repeat again, guys, when talking about the rent, we have taken two premise on hire, that is premise first and premise second. The rent of premise first is 60,000 and the rent of premise second is 40,000. Premise first is used for mobile division and premise 2 is used for laptop division. So herein also we can directly distribute the rent, that is 60,000 and 40,000. When talking about the electricity, bills also, since there are two premises, so we are getting two separate bills for electricity. So let's say the electricity bill of premise 1 is 40,000 and of premise 2 is, let's say, 20,000. So herein also we can directly distribute the overheads, that is 40,000 and 20,000. So herein what we can see is that when talking about rent, दो premises rent पे लिए हैं. Premise first जो है mobile division के लिए use होता है, premise second जो है laptop division के लिए use होता है. So herein we can directly distribute the rent. Similarly, for every premise we are getting a separate electricity bill. So herein also the electricity cost can be distributed easily and directly. So herein, when talking about this distribution is what we call as allocation. So what is allocation? When the overheads are separately incurred and can be distributed directly, it is called as allocation. What is allocation? When the overheads are incurred separately and can be distributed directly. It is allocation. So guys, what is allocation? When overheads are incurred separately for each production department and can be distributed directly. So वो जो distribution process है, we call it as allocation. The distribution process is called as allocation. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please ask me. I request you guys to please copy this example and explanation. It will help you guys to revise while preparing for the exams. So giving you 2 minutes time to please copy this example. You can write, you can frame the question in your language and in your notebook. I want everyone to be with a paper or with a notepad and a pen. So guys, you can write the explanation immediately. It will help you while revising for the exam. So what is allocation, guys? Very simple. When the overheads are incurred separately for every production department and can be distributed directly, this process is known as allocation. Anyone having any doubts? The common costs are known as overheads, Mr. Srinivasan. Yashweta, any doubts? Miss Kadambari, Srinivasan, Santosh, Mamta, Tanishka, Divya, Mr. Devraj, Manish, Kiran, any doubts? Soumya, Suvati, any doubts? Miss Suman, any doubts? Have some patience, Neha. थोड़ा patience रखिए. It will be done. Let me discuss each and every point step by step, my dear. Yes, Manish. Now, so allocation is over. So when the overheads are incurred separately and can be distributed directly, it is allocation. Now let's take a different situation. What if in case we have appointed supervisors and supervisors are commonly working, I mean, supervisor can supervise the mobile department also or laptop department also. There are no dedicated supervisors for mobile department and laptop department. They are common. So the supervisors are supervising both the divisions, that is laptop division and mobile division. When talking about rent also, let's say we have taken only one premise on hire. When talking about electricity also, सिर्फ एक ही bill आ रहा है. Now the question is how to distribute the overhead. Supervisors दोनों department को supervise कर रहे हैं. Premise भी हमने एक ही rent पे लिया है. Electricity bill भी common आ रहा है. Now the point is how to distribute the overheads. These overheads, in that case, the overheads cannot be distributed directly. So if the overheads cannot be distributed directly, we need to apportion the overheads. So herein the concept of apportionment comes into picture. So when we need to apportion, when the overheads cannot be distributed directly, we have to apportion the overheads. So when to apportion? When the overheads cannot be distributed directly. We need to apportion them. Now the point is how to apportion the overhead. So now, if the overheads are incurred as a whole and cannot be distributed directly, we have to apportion the overheads. Now, some additional information will always be given in the question if we have to apportion the overhead. Let's take a situation. Let's take a situation wherein some additional information is given in the question. Let's take a situation wherein some additional information is given in the question. Let's say area is given in the question, area in square feet. Area is given in the question, that is area in square feet is given in the question. Let's say 3,000 square feet is used for mobile division and 2,000 square feet is used for laptop division. Further, when talking about the number of engineers who are manufacturing mobiles and laptop, the information is given. Number of workers let's say number of workers that are given are 25 and sorry, one second guys. When talking about the number of workers, let's say 15 workers are working in mobile department and 15 workers are working in laptop division. Further information is also given as regards light points. When talking about the light points, there are 50 light points in mobile division and 70 light points in laptop division. So this information is given in the question. So now we have to use this information to distribute the overheads. So herein, what we have to do, when the overheads cannot be allocated, we have to apportion the overhead. When the overheads cannot be distributed directly, we need to apportion them. The point is how to apportion them. we have to first identify the basis of apportionment, and then only we will distribute the overheads. So what we have to do? We have to identify the basis of apportionment. And then we will distribute. सबसे पहले हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा? आइडेंटिफाई करना पड़ेगा द बेसिस ऑफ अपॉर्शनमेंट. So we have to first identify the basis of apportionment, then only we will apportion the overhead. So now how to identify? So let's start with supervisor salary. We are paying supervisor salary rupees 50,000. Now, area in square feet का कोई लेना देना है क्या supervisor से? No. Nothing to do with area. Supervisor salary has nothing to do with area. What supervisor do? Supervisor supervise the work done by the supervisors supervise the work done by the workforce. So here we can say supervisor salary. Supervisor क्या करता है? Supervise करता है किसको? जो लेबर काम करता है उसको. So here we can say supervisor salary is more or less related to the number of workers working in the factory. So since we are paying supervisor 50,000 salary, and when talking about the number of workers, 15 workers are working in mobile division, and laptop division also 15 workers are working. So supervisor is working equally for mobile and laptop because equal number of workers are working in mobile and laptop division. So we can say supervisor salary can be distributed in the ratio of 1:1. That is what we can say the number of workers. We can distribute supervisor salary on the basis of number of workers because supervisor का area से कोई लेना देना नहीं है, number of workers से भी कोई लेना देना नहीं है. Supervisor क्या करता है? Workers को supervise करता है. So that's why we will distribute the supervisor salary in the ratio of number of workers. So 15 and 15 equal, so the ratio is 1:1. So 25,000 and 25,000. When talking about rent, rent has nothing to do with number of workers or light point. Rent किसका पे करता है? Area का. So the rent need to be distributed in the ratio of area in square feet. So when talking about the basis of apportionment of rent, it can be distributed in the ratio of area in square feet. So here in the ratio is what? 3:2. So rent will be distributed in the ratio of area. And the ratio will be 3:2. So this will be 60,000 and 40,000. When talking about electricity, electricity can be distributed in the ratio of area. But yes, if the light points are given separately, then we will use light points. If light points are not given, we can distribute electricity in the ratio of area. But yes, since light points are given, so we will distribute in the ratio of light points. So herein, this will be 5:7. That is so this will be 25,000 and this will be. So this process is known as apportionment. So I hope this part is clear to all. That is, first point is why we distribute, because overheads as a whole incur होते हैं, and to calculate the total cost, we have to distribute the overheads among various products or production department. So this is what is the need of distribution. When talking about how to distribute the overheads, it can be via allocation or apportionment. When talking about allocation, if the overheads are incurred separately and can be distributed directly, it is what we call as allocation. This process is known as allocation. But suppose if allocation is not possible, the overheads are not incurred separately, then we need to apportion the overhead. Now, how to apportion the overhead? Very simple. We have to first identify the basis. किस basis पे apportion करें? So once the basis is identified, we have to distribute using the basic ratio technique, and we will distribute the overhead. So I hope this part is clear to all, that what is allocation, what is apportionment. If you guys have any doubt, you guys can please post your queries. I request you guys to please copy this explanation in detail. काफी स्टूडेंट्स को ये कंफ्यूजन होता है, सर अलोकेशन क्या होता है, अपॉर्शनमेंट क्या होता है. Many students use these words interchangeably. So I request you guys to please copy the explanation. Plus, you can write your comments in your notepad accordingly. When you will revise, it will help you guys. So please do copy. I'm giving you 2 to 3 minutes time. So Kiran, hopefully your query is resolved. One more girl raised that query that, sir, what is apportionment and allocation? Manish Kumar, hopefully your query is resolved. Soumya, any doubts? Mr. Kiran, any doubts, my dear? Okay. First of all, Mr. Kiran, hopefully your query is resolved. Now, Manish Kumar, sir, there can be more than one base for apportionment. What to do in that case in exam? So, Manish, when talking about the basis of apportionment, see, more or less the things are very clear. Examiner is not here to confuse you. He is just to test your knowledge. So, if you find, if you find any question wherein you can, you feel like that this too can be the basis of apportionment, then use the best possible approach. See here in this question only, electricity can be distributed on the basis of area and light points. Either of the approach can be used. But yes, if the light points are given specifically in the question, then you need to use light points. इस क्वेश्चन में ये पॉइंट क्लियर हो जाता है कि यू हैव टू यूज द मोस्ट अप्रोप्रिएट बेसिस ऑफ अपॉर्शनमेंट, द मोस्ट कॉमनली यूज्ड बेसिस ऑफ अपॉर्शनमेंट. If the information is given as regards light point, you have to use light point. But if no information is given as regards light point, then we can distribute electricity cost in the basis of area. So if you are finding any sort of confusion that, sir, either I to use this or that, then use the most appropriate basis of apportionment. That's great, Soumya. Don't worry. Yes, Miss Vadlamani. Uh, Mr. Kiran, have some patience, my dear. I hope your allocation and apportionment is clear. Then now we will start with reapportionment. So don't worry, my dear. That's okay, Soumya. You can thereafter you can check the recorded lecture over YouTube for better understanding. So that's okay, Soumya. Well said, Mr. Vadlakshmi. That's okay, Sushil. No worries, my dear. So I hope this part is clear to all, allocation and apportionment. I hope you guys have copied everything. So let's start with the next part. Devraj, I'll be discussing this concept in marginal costing. I assure you, Devraj, by the end of all the session, you will be thorough with costing. But yes, you have to, थोड़ा आपको patience रखना पड़ेगा. Step by step, I'll discuss each and every point in detail, Devraj. So guys, I hope this part is clear that when to allocate and when to apportion if the overheads can be distributed directly. The process of distribution is what we call as allocation. And if the overheads cannot be distributed directly, then we have to apportion. And to apportion, we need to identify the basis of apportionment. So whatever the best possible base, I mean the most suitable basis, you have to identify and distribute the overheads. So now let's discuss a full-fledged question on allocation or apportionment. Thereafter, we will start with the reapportionment of overhead. So, for your reference, I'm sharing a question. One second, guys. I have shared a question, guys. I request you guys to please take the screenshot of the question. The question is not there in the study material. This is a new question, so I request you guys to please take the screenshot. मनीष सर एक बार पूरा जो शेयर स्क्रीन है उसको वाइड कर दीजिए ना प्लीज. I request everyone to please take the screenshot of the question. I'll surely, my dear. So I hope you guys have taken the screenshot of the question. Now I'll be discussing this question for better understanding of this concept of apportionment of overhead. So a factory has three production department, P1, P2, P3, and two service department also, that is S1 and S2. The following overheads and other information are extracted from the books for the month of January 2023, wherein rent is given, repairs are given, depreciation, lighting, supervision cost, fire insurance for stock, ESI contribution, and power. Now, no overheads can be distributed directly because the information is not given in the question. So, since the overheads cannot be distributed directly, so we have to apportion the overheads. So, herein some additional information is given in the question as regards area in square feet, the number of workers, wages is given in the question, the value of plant is given. When talking about the stock value, it is given in the question. Horsepower of plant is also given. So allocate or apportion the overhead among the various department on suitable basis. So the overheads cannot be allocated, so we have to apportion the overheads. So let's start with this problem. So herein the company has three production department. Three production department, that is P1, P2 and P3, and two service department, that is S1 and S2. Further, the details of the overheads are also given. We call it as particulars, then total overheads, and basis of apportionment. For the students who are not able to take the screenshot, guys, sharing this for your reference again. I request you guys to please take the screenshot. I request you guys to please take the screenshot. So guys, these are the overheads wherein rent is given, that is 12,000. Repairs are given 3,600. Depreciation is given 2,700. Lighting is given, that is 1,200. Supervision is given, that is 9,000. Fire insurance for stock 3,000. ESI contribution is given, that is 1,800. Power cost is given 5,400. So this is the question now, guys. So this is the question wherein rent, repair, depreciation, lighting, supervision, fire insurance for stock, ESI contribution and power is given. So now we have to apportion the overheads. So what we have to do, we have to first identify the basis of apportionment. So guys, let's start. So when talking about rent, rent can be distributed on the basis of, waiting for your answers, guys. Rent can be distributed on the basis of, I request you guys to please post your answers. So rent can be distributed on the basis of, the information is given in the question, waiting for your answers, guys. Here in area, number of workers, wages, value of plant, stock value, and horsepower of plant is given. Well said, Madhav, Neha, correct, Kiran, Tanishka, Shweta, Kiran, perfect. Well said. So herein, the rent can be distributed on the basis of area. And the area in square feet is given, that is 200, 150, 135, 75, and 40. So we'll be using this ratio to distribute rent. You guys have to do the calculation. I'll be discussing the concept. Thereafter, I'll give you 10 minutes time to calculate the final answer. So let me first write the basis of apportionment. So guys, now let's proceed further with the next point, that is repairs. So waiting for your answers, guys. Repairs. Very good, everyone. All the answers are correct. So waiting for the answer. For repairs, what will be the basis of distribution, guys? You have to identify the best, the most appropriate basis of apportionment. So as per the information given in the question, you guys have to answer. So what will be the basis of distribution of repairs? Area, number of workers, wages, value of plant, stock value, or horsepower of plant? Waiting for your answers, guys. The first answer, everyone, the first answer what I have received is correct of everyone. So, Mr. Harish, this information is not given in the question. Your answer is correct, but from this question point of view, this answer is incorrect. In general, yes. In general, we can say yes, the repairs are to be distributed on the basis of machine hours, but machine hours are not given in the question, my dear. Okay, so I have got answers from Parth, Suman, Harish, Anmol, Shweta, Hardik, Kiran. Kiran, your answer is incorrect when talking about the repairs part. Sakshi, incorrect answer. Manor Yadav, incorrect answer. Shweta, incorrect answer. You have to identify the most suitable, most appropriate basis of apportionment. In general, we can say the repairs are to be distributed on the basis of machine hour. But since in this question, machine hour information is not given. So, as most of the students answered, the repairs is to be distributed on the basis of value of plant, because we can't distribute repairs. Kiska hota hai? Machine ka hota hai. Now, so in general, machine hours are required for distribution of repairs, but since the machine hours are not given, so we will assume that jitna mehenga plant, utna zyada repairs ka kharcha. So herein, the repairs are to be distributed on the basis of value of plant. Repairs has nothing to do with wages, my dear, or direct labor. So the most appropriate basis, in general, we can say repairs are to be distributed on the basis of machine hour. But since machine hours are not given in the question, और repairs होता किसका है? Plant and machinery का होता है. So we will assume that the repairs is more or less dependent upon the value of plant. Accordingly, we'll distribute in the ratio of value of plant. So the next point is depreciation. It's very easy, guys. Waiting for your answers. It's very easy. Depreciation किस पे लगता है? Plant पे. So depreciation is to be distributed on the basis of value of plant. Very good, Suman. Very good, Sushil. Perfect, Anmol. Neha, correct answer. Parth, correct answer. Mr. Vijay. Raghavan, correct answer. Ms. Kadambari Bhatt, perfect, correct answer. Okay, so next is depreciation is done now. Lighting. Waiting for your answers, guys. Lighting. So lighting will be distributed on the basis of, waiting for your answers, guys. Perfect, Sushil. Archana, correct answer. So waiting for your answers for lighting. Okay, so Mr. Madhav Tiwari, your answer is incorrect. Kiran, incorrect answer. Miss Vadlamani, incorrect answer. Mr. Hardik, again incorrect answer. Rest everyone correct answer. Manohar, incorrect answer. Avinash Patil, incorrect answer, my dear. Rest everybody correct answer. Suman, correct answer. Neha, correct answer. Vijay, correct answer. Vijay Raghavan, correct answer. That's okay, Mr. Srinivasan. Ajay Chauhan, incorrect answer. Shweta, incorrect answer. Again, when talking about the general lighting, it has nothing to do with horsepower. As I said, the most suitable basis of apportionment is either light points or area. If light points are given, then you have to use light points. If light points are not given, then you have to use area. So, when talking about lighting, it will be distributed on the basis of area. Okay, so next point is supervision. Very easy. I have already discussed the supervision cost will be distributed on the basis of number of workers. So supervision cost, it is very easy. Number of workers. Again, when talking about the fire insurance for stock, herein the information is clearly given. The value of stock. Insurance किसके ऊपर लेते हैं? Value of stock पे. So supervision, sorry guys. Fire insurance for stock is more or less dependent upon the value of stock. And this information is clearly given in the question. So when talking about the fire insurance of stock, it will be distributed on the basis of stock value. Now, next is ESI contribution. Waiting for your answers, guys. ESI contribution. Okay, Kiran, I think I skipped your answer. Perfect answer, guys. Suman, Gomati, very well. Everybody correct answer. Okay, so ESI contribution, I have got answer from Gomati. Gomati, I think your answer is incorrect for ESI contribution. Mr. Vijay Raghavan, correct answer. Hardik, correct answer. Anmol, incorrect answer. Shweta Maruti, incorrect answer. ESI contribution, yes, guys, waiting for your answer. Again, you have to identify the most appropriate basis of apportionment. जो सबसे ज्यादा related है, accordingly you have to identify and use it as a basis. So I have got answer from Kiran Shukla. It is incorrect. अजय करेक्ट, अविनाश करेक्ट, निश्चित करेक्ट, पार्थ करेक्ट, हरीश चंदेर इनकरेक्ट, मनोहर यादव इनकरेक्ट, सुमन गोयल करेक्ट, निशा कुमारी इनकरेक्ट, हरीश इनकरेक्ट, साक्षी झा इनकरेक्ट, माधव तिवारी करेक्ट आंसर. So ESI contribution is, ESI contribution is generally done on the basis of percentage of wages. PF and ESI are done on the basis of wages. So this cannot be distributed on the basis of number of workers, because most of the many student posted wages, many student posted number of workers. So of this, the most appropriate basis of apportionment is what we call as wages here in this case. So here, when talking about ESI contribution, it will be distributed in the ratio of wages. The next is number of workers is incorrect because it is calculated on percentage of wages. PF contribution or ESI contribution, it is calculated on the basis of percentage of wages. So it will be distributed on the basis of wages paid. Number of workers is incorrect, guys. And the last is power. It is distributed on the basis of horsepower of machine. So here in horsepower of plant. So guys, again, almost 80% students were able to answer correctly in all the cases. So my point is very clear, guys. Identify the most suitable basis, the most appropriate basis of apportionment, and then distribute. Still few students are finding it a bit confusing, but guys, if you try to practice 5-6 questions, you'll be thorough with this concept, and you'll be able to see. The more you practice, the more the more you are comfortable with the concept. So just try solving 5-6 questions of study materials or past examination or RTPs or MTP. एक आइडिया आ ही जाएगा आपको कि किस बेसिस पे डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करना है. So I hope this concept is clear to all, guys. Anyone having any query, any doubts? So Sushil Kumar Barik, yes, lighting will be distributed on the basis of area, my dear. Supervision is correct. Rest, everything is correct. Perfect. Very good. Everybody correct answer. So I hope everyone is done with the I hope everyone is thorough with the concept. If you guys have any doubts, you guys can please post me how to identify the basis. थोड़ा आपको दिमाग लगाना पड़ेगा to identify the basis of apportionment. So waiting for your queries, guys. Perfect answer, Sushil. Anyone having any doubts, you guys can please post your query. I request you guys, I'll be giving you a break of 10 minutes. So in the meanwhile, during the break, it's for me, not for you guys. You have to post the final answers also. Anyone having any doubts? Almost maximum of the students were able to answer it correctly, but still few students are finding difficulty in identifying the basis of apportionment. So guys, don't worry. कोई rocket science नहीं है. If you practice 4-5 questions, you'll be thorough with the concept. Lighting will be distributed on the ratio of area, my dear. So guys, let's take a break of 15 minutes. During this break, I request you guys to please distribute the overheads. So I hope you guys I hope you guys will be able to distribute it using the basic ratio technique. Okay, one doubt. Sir ji, can depreciation on machinery be apportioned? See, Manohar, आपके क्वेश्चन का आंसर आप ही देंगे. आप डेप्रिसिएशन किस पे कैलकुलेट करते हैं? मशीन आवर्स पे कैलकुलेट करते हैं या परसेंटेज ऑफ वैल्यू ऑफ मशीन पे करते हैं? 11 से आपको ये सिखाया गया है कि depreciation will be calculated on the value of machine. So how can you distribute the depreciation on the basis of machine hours? It is practically not possible. Even depreciation is calculated on percentage of value of machine or value of assets. So आपका answer in fact anyway, so Manohar, depreciation will be distributed on the basis of value of machine, not on the basis of machine hour. So let's take a break of 15 minutes. In this break, I request you guys to please calculate all these values and please do post the total of P1, P2, P3, S1 and S2. So Manish sir, please take a break. Please put a break of 15 minutes. Welcome back, guys. I have got answers from few students. So more or less everyone were, I mean, everybody's answer is same. So I've got these answers. 13,820, 10380, 8490, 3870, and 2140. Yes, Mamta. Still, Manohar, the approach is incorrect. I suggest you to charge depreciation on the basis of value of machine only. ऐसा स्टंट मत करो कि एग्जामिनर आपके मार्क्स डिडक्ट कर ले. Somehow, somewhere you can try to, I mean, somehow, somewhere you'll try to convince me, but at the end of the day, examiner convince nahi hoga. Yes, Mamta. Very good, Sakshi. Very good, Nisha. Tanishka, very good. Ajay, very good. That's okay, Parth. No worries. Very good, Anmol. Neha Sharma, very good. Vijay Raghavan, very good. Kadambari Bhatt, very good. Very good, Preeti. Perfect. So, Madhav Tiwari, very good. Madhav, your answers are incorrect, my dear. 13,854. So, guys, done with allocation and apportionment. So, I hope you guys are thorough with this concept. What is the difference between allocation and apportionment? So, if the overheads can be distributed directly, we do allocate the overhead. But yes, if the overheads are incurred as a whole and cannot be distributed directly, then we have to apportion it. And when talking about apportionment, we have to identify the basis of apportionment, and thereafter we will distribute the overheads. So let's proceed further with the next part of the chapter, next part of the distribution part, that is reapportionment of overhead. So let's start, guys. That's okay, Parth. Very good, Sushil. So, guys, now let's start with the reapportionment of overhead. Now, when talking about reapportionment, this term is used when talking about reapportionment, this term is used to reapportion the overheads of service department to the production department. Now, before starting with how to reapportion, again the same way, why we are reapportioning the overhead. So, अगर आप कोई भी चीज करते हैं, for the first question is why we are doing, and the next question is how to do. So, let's start with why reapportionment. So, let's say there is a company wherein there are three production departments. That is P1, P2 and P3. And let's say there are two service departments also, S1 and S2. The allocation and apportionment is done, and we have got the total overheads. That is overheads after primary distribution. We are done with primary distribution. What do you mean by primary distribution? I'll be using this word for allocation or apportionment. So after allocation or apportionment, we have got the overheads of P1, P2, P3, S1 and S2. Now, what is the need of reapportionment? See guys, we will add Shweta. That's okay. I'll be discussing this part in detail. Wages of service department need to be added. So that's okay. It's up to you, Neha. So guys, now, after the primary distribution, that is overheads after primary distribution, that is after allocation or apportionment, overheads जो है हमने allocate कर दिए, apportionment कर दिया किसमें? P1, P2, P3, S1, S2. Now guys, what is the need of reapportionment? Now guys, when talking about production department, the units are actually manufactured in production department. I repeat again, guys, when talking about the overheads of the production department, we can easily charge to a cost of product because the units are actually manufactured in production department. So, since units are actually manufactured in production department, it is very easy for us to charge the overheads of production department to a particular job or to a particular product to calculate the cost. But since no units are manufactured in service department are meant to provide services. No units are manufactured in the service department. So what about the total overheads of service department? For calculation of total cost, we have to consider the overheads of the service department also. But the point is, since no units are manufactured in service department, so how to charge the overheads of the service department? So the answer to this question is that what we will do, we will reapportion the overheads of the service department to the production department, and thereafter we'll get the total overheads of the production department and we will accordingly calculate the total cost. So I repeat again, guys, when talking about the overheads of the service department, since no units are manufactured in service department, so the question is कि भाई service department के overheads का क्या करें? Service department में कोई units manufacture हो नहीं रहे हैं, तो फिर उनके overheads का क्या? So what we will do is, we will reapportion the overheads of the service department to the production department because there are no units manufactured in service department. Service department का काम क्या है? To provide services to the other department. So what we will do is, we will reapportion the overheads of the service department to the production department, and thereafter we will calculate the total overheads of the production department, and accordingly we will charge to a particular product to calculate the total cost. Let me discuss this practically with the help of an example. Let's say I have 3 production department and I have a service department, let's say housekeeping department. Now, no units are manufactured in the housekeeping department. It's a service department. No units are manufactured in housekeeping department. But yes, to maintain the cleanliness in the office premise and the factory, we need housekeeping department. What these housekeeping departments are doing, they are only providing cleaning services to the various departments. So what we will do is, whatever the overheads that are distributed, that is allocated or apportioned to the housekeeping department, it will be redistributed to the various production department. Why? Because actually वो कर क्या रहे हैं? They are providing services to the production department. Let's say I have one more department, service department, let's say maintenance department. Now again, no manufacturing activities carried on in maintenance department. Maintenance department का काम क्या है? In case of any machine breakdown, or any breakdown, what they will do, they will come into picture and they will immediately fix up the problem. Again, what the maintenance department is doing, they are providing services to the production department. Let's take one more example. Let's say human resources. I have a HR department. Now, what HR department are doing? They are recruiting people. Let's say on a particular day, 15 people resigned in production department P1. Let's say on a particular day, 15 people resigned and served a notice of 1 month in P1. Now, herein the role of HR department comes into picture. What they will do, they will immediately recruit 15 to 16 staff and place in the production department number 1. So, HR department, what they are doing, they are again providing services to the various production department. So I hope you guys are thorough with this concept that what to do with the overheads of service department. Since no units are manufactured in the service department, these service department are meant to provide services only to the production department. So that's why we redistribute the overheads of service department to the various production departments. So I hope this concept is clear that why to reapportion. Why? Because units are not manufactured in service department. और उनका जो cost है, we need to charge to a particular product to calculate the total cost. So we have to redistribute the overheads of the service department to the production department. So why is clear. Now the question is how to distribute. Now the question is how to distribute the overheads of the service department to the production department. सर्विस डिपार्टमेंट जो कि कोई भी यूनिट्स मैन्युफैक्चर नहीं कर रहा है, उनके ओवरहेड्स हमको रीडिस्ट्रीब्यूट करने हैं. किसको? प्रोडक्शन डिपार्टमेंट को. नाउ द क्वेश्चन इज हाउ टू रीडिस्ट्रीब्यूट, हाउ टू रीअपोर्शन. सो वन सेकेंड, देयर इज अ क्वेरी. See, Mamta, I repeat again, service department are meant to provide services to the production department. No units are manufactured. So, unka cost jo hai, Miss Mamta, we need to redistribute it to the production department. उनका जो टोटल कॉस्ट है हम लोग प्रोडक्शन डिपार्टमेंट में डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर देंगे एंड देन वी विल गेट द टोटल कॉस्ट ऑफ द प्रोडक्शन डिपार्टमेंट दैट विल बी यूज्ड टू कैलकुलेट द टोटल कॉस्ट. आई होप दिस कॉन्सेप्ट इज क्लियर दैट व्हाई रीअपॉर्शनमेंट. Anyone else having any doubts, guys? For the students who have joined bit late, since no units are manufactured in service department, they are meant to provide services only to the production department. So what we will do, we will redistribute the overheads of service department to the production department. Thereafter, we will calculate the total overheads and we will use to calculate the total cost. Anyone else having any doubts? Mamta, hopefully your query is resolved. So guys, now let's proceed further. Reapportionment of overheads of service department to production department. Again, our major object, Mr. Manish Kumar, our major object of this chapter is that how to distribute the overheads and after distribution, how to charge the overheads to a particular product or a job to calculate the total cost. So हम लोगों को overheads को charge करना है किसी product की cost में. So when talking about the service department, anyways, or either of the ways, they are providing services only. So we have to consider the cost of service department and to distribute it to the various production department, my dear. Because अगर आप distribute नहीं, आप अगर reapportion नहीं करेंगे तो वो cost का क्या? How this cost will be added to the cost of product? So that's why there is the need of redistribution. So guys, yes, I'll be discussing this part also, Shweta, don't worry. So now when talking about reapportionment, this term is used for the redistribution of overheads of service department to the production department. Now in this case, two situations are possible. Two situations are possible. The first situation is when service department provides services only to the production department. I'll be discussing all the possible outcomes. So herein two situations are possible wherein when service department provides services to production department. And second situation, when service department provides services to production department and other service department. So first case जब service department सिर्फ production departments को ही service provide करता है. Second case, the more practical approach wherein service department provides services to production department but to other service departments also. So housekeeping department is providing services to the production department as well as HR department also, maintenance department also, cafeteria also. So this is the case. So when talking about the first case, when service department provides services only to the production department, we will use direct redistribution method. When talking about when service department provides services to the production department and other department, herein also two situations are possible, wherein reciprocal and non-reciprocal. In reciprocal, in non-reciprocal, we will use step ladder method. And in reciprocal, there are three methods. We can use any one method wherein simultaneous equation method, a repetitive distribution method, simultaneous equation method, repetitive distribution method, and trial and error method. Now the point is, what is the difference between reciprocal and non-reciprocal? So herein, when service department provides services to the production department as well as other service department, two approaches are possible, reciprocal and non-reciprocal. So let's start first with non-reciprocal. Let's say I have two service department and three production department. Production department are P1, P2, P3, and service department are X and Y. Now, when talking about non-reciprocal, let's say X is providing services to the three production department, that is P1, P2, P3, and service department Y also. I repeat again, let's say I have three production department P1, P2, P3, X, and Y. So department X, these two are service department. Let's say X and Y are service department and P1, P2, P3 are my production department. I'm discussing the non-reciprocal concept. So herein, let's say X is providing services to P1, P2, P3 and Y. But when talking about Y, but when talking about Y is providing services only to P1, P2 and P3. So this is what we call as non-reciprocal, wherein X is providing services to Y, but Y is not providing services to X. So this is what we call as non-reciprocal method. But when talking about reciprocal method, X is providing services to P1, P2, P3 and Y is also providing services to P1, P2, P3 and X. So if the service departments are providing services to each other, X is providing to Y and Y is providing to X, we call it as reciprocal. But if in case, if X is providing services to Y, but Y is not providing services to X, it is providing services only to the production department, it is called as non-reciprocal. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please ask me, waiting for your queries. So these are all the methods of redistribution or reapportionment, that is direct redistribution method, simultaneous equation method, repetitive distribution method, trial and error method and step ladder method. So these are all the methods we'll be discussing one by one. So if you guys have any doubts, that is what is reciprocal, non-reciprocal, I'll be discussing this part in detail. So till now, if you guys have any doubts, you guys can please post your query. I request you guys to please copy this explanation. First point, I have discussed that why we need to redistribute, because service department में कोई भी manufacturing activity नहीं होती है. They are only providing services to the production department. So उनके overheads का क्या? How to charge the overheads? So what we will do, we will redistribute the overheads of service department to production department, and thereafter we will calculate the total overheads of production department. Now, why is clear now? How? So there are two situations possible when service department provides services only to the production department, and wherein it provides services to the production department also and service department also. So here in two situations are possible, reciprocal and non-reciprocal. When talking about reciprocal, एक सर्विस डिपार्टमेंट दूसरे को प्रोवाइड करता है सर्विस और दूसरा प्रोवाइड करता है फर्स्ट को. So if there are two service department X and Y, X is providing to Y, Y is providing to X. But when talking about non-reciprocal, X is providing to Y, but Y is not providing to X. Y is providing only to the production department. So waiting for your queries, guys. In the meanwhile, I request you guys to please copy. I'll be teaching. Don't worry, Divya. Nishit, my dear, I'll be discussing each and every method with the help of a practical question. Don't worry, my dear. Neha, don't worry. I'll be discussing this part again. Waiting for your queries, guys. I request you guys to please copy the explanation. Giving you 2 minutes time. I've just taken an example, Mr. Srinivasan. I can take another examples also. Let's say I have three production department, P1, P2, P3, X and Y. So herein, Y is providing services to P1, P2, P3 and X, but X is providing services only to P1, P2, P3. I've just taken an example. I've just taken a situation, my dear. Okay, so for reciprocal method, I repeat again, if the service department are providing services to each other, that is, let's say if there are two service department, X and Y, X is providing services to Y, Y is providing services to X, then it is reciprocal. But when talking about non-reciprocal, if there are two service department, X and Y, X is providing services to Y, but Y is not providing services back to X. It is providing services only to the production department. This is called as non-reciprocal. Neha Sharma, hopefully your query is resolved. If the service department provides services to each other, it is reciprocal. But if one service department is providing services to other, but the second department is not providing services to the first department, it is providing services only to the production department, it is non-reciprocal. Everything will be given in the question. I have just taken a situation, my dear. I'll be discussing one practical question on each method. Don't worry. So these are the methods. I'll be discussing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 methods we'll be discussing one by one. Miss Vadlamani, any doubts? So guys, now let's start with the first part, that is direct redistribution method. These are the methods we'll be discussing one by one. So let's start with the first method, wherein if service department provides services only to the production department. So let's start, guys. I request you guys to please open your study material. I'll be discussing the questions from study material. So I request you guys to please open your study material. That is illustration number 1. The page number is 4.18. Page number 4.18, illustration number 1. I'll be discussing now. I'll be discussing this point also, Manohar, with the help of a practical question. Don't worry, Manohar. I'll be discussing this part, Manohar, in detail with the help of a question. Vadlamani, hopefully your query is resolved. Neha Sharma, hopefully your query is resolved. What is the difference between reciprocal and non-reciprocal? Hopefully, Neha, your query is resolved. So let's start with illustration number 1. Quick, guys, giving you 30 seconds more. I request you guys to please open your study material. I'm discussing illustration number 1 from study material. So Excel Limited has 3 production department and 4 service department. The expenses for this department as per primary distribution summary are as follow. They are done with the primary distribution, that is, they are done with allocation or apportionment. So after allocation or apportionment, we have got the figures for production department, that is 30 lakh, 26 lakh and 24 lakh. And for service department, that is store, timekeeping, power and canteen, it is 4 lakh, 3 lakh, 1 lakh 60,000 and 1 lakh respectively. Further, the additional information is given in the question as regards the horsepower of machine, number of workers, and value of stores requisition. Prepare a statement apportioning the cost of service department over the production department using direct redistribution method. Question itself is saying that you have to use direct redistribution method. It means what? Service department एक दूसरे को service provide नहीं कर रहे हैं. They are providing services only to the production department. So guys, let's start. Illustration number 1. The page number is 4.18. Statement showing reapportionment of overheads. So there are three production departments, that is department A, B, and C. A, B, and C. So we have got the overheads after primary distribution. Overheads after primary distribution. Primary distribution means what? Allocation or apportionment. So we have got the overheads, that is 30 lakh, 26 lakh, and 24 lakh. 30 lakh, 26 lakh, and 24 lakh. So the total is 80 lakh. Now herein, the service department details are given, wherein the first one is stores department, timekeeping and accounts, power and canteen. So herein, we have to identify the basis of apportionment and thereafter we have to distribute. So when talking about the first service department, that is stores department, there are three bases that are given, that is horsepower. Again, it has nothing to do with stores. Again, the number of workers, again, it has nothing to do with stores. But yes, the value of requisition, stores requisition, it is more or less related to this service department, that is stores department. So the overheads of the stores department will be distributed to the production department on the basis of values of stores requisition. So, so stores department, value of store requisition. The total amount is 4 lakh. So when talking about the value of stores requisition, it is 2 lakh, 150 and 1 lakh. So 2:3:5. 5:3:2. This will be the ratio. Better to keep the ratio. 5:3:2. That is 2,50,000 is to 1,50,000 is to 1 lakh. So 4 lakh divided by 10, 40. So this will be 2 lakh. This will be 1,20,000 and this will be 1,80,000. The next service department is timekeeping and accounts. Again, timekeeping and account has nothing to do with horsepower of machinery and value of stores requisition. It is more or less related to the number of workers. So accordingly, the timekeeping and account service department overheads are to be distributed on the basis of number of workers. This is the most appropriate basis of apportionment. That's why I'm distributing on the basis of number of workers. When talking about the ratio, the number of workers are given, that is 20 is to 15 is to 15. So divided by 5. So 3 is to 3 is to 4. 4, 3, 3. The total amount is 3 lakh. One 20 is to 90 is to 90. Next is power. Yes, power can be distributed on the basis of horsepower of machine. So when talking about the power cost, it will be distributed in the ratio of horsepower of machine. It is given in the question. The horsepower of machine is the ratio 300, 302, 200. So 3 is to 3 is to 2. And the total power cost is 1,60,000. So this will be 60,000, 60,000, and 40,000. The next service department is canteen department. Again, they are providing services to the workers. So it will be distributed in the ratio of number of workers. So canteen department, number of workers, that will be 4 is to 3 is to 3. And the total cost of canteen is 1 lakh. So 40 is to 30 is to 3. So accordingly, we'll get the total overheads of all the production department. This will be 34,20,000. This will be 29 lakh. This will be 27 lakh 40. 26 lakh 40,000. Sorry, guys, there was some calculation mistake from my end. Sorry, everyone. So this is the way we have to solve the question, wherein this is direct redistribution method, wherein if the service department provides services only to the production department, we can distribute the overheads directly. So if you guys have any doubts in today's session, you guys can please post your query, because it's already 9:26. And the next method I will not be able to complete in the given time. So if you guys have any doubts, you guys can please post your query. Waiting for your queries, guys. So Mr. Srinivasan, any doubts? Neha Sharma, hopefully your doubt is resolved. That is, what is the difference between reciprocal and non-reciprocal? I repeat again, let's say I have 3 production department, P1, P2, P3, and 2 service department, X and Y. So if X is providing services to Y and Y is providing services back to X, it is called as reciprocal. But let's say if X is providing services to Y and other production department, but Y is providing services only to the production department, वापस वो X को service provide नहीं करता है, so that is called, we call it as non-reciprocal. Thank you so much, Preeti. Anyone else? अगर कोई छोटा सा भी डाउट है, प्लीज डू पोस्ट योर क्वेरी. आई ट्राई माय लेवल बेस्ट टू रिजॉल्व ईच एंड एवरी क्वेरी ऑफ योर्स. सो once, I mean, once all these sessions get over, I want you guys to be the master of costing. For this, you have to post your queries. कोई भी डाउट दिमाग में आए, डोंट थिंक कि व्हाट सर, आई मीन ऐसा मत सोचिए कि सर क्या बोलेंगे या क्या नहीं बोलेंगे. डोंट वरी, I'll try my level best to address all your queries. Feel comfortable to post your queries. So you guys are here to learn. So अगर कुछ भी दिमाग में आता है, whatever the queries you have, you guys can please post. Okay, there is a query from Amulya Pratik sir, how to calculate ratio for a particular department. So one second. So see Amulya, see the horsepower of machinery is 300, 300 and 200. Let's take an example. When talking the horsepower of machinery, it is 300, 300 and 200. So आपको क्या करना है अमूल्य? Either no need to calculate the ratio, 300, 300 through 200 की आप total लगा लीजिए. That is 300 plus 300 plus 200. How much it is? That is 3 plus 3, 6 plus 2, 800. So now, how I have calculated this? See, 1,60,000 is the total figure. What's the total of 300, 300 and 200? 800. So divided by 800 into 300. This because the department A, it is 300. So for similarly for department B, 1,60,000 into 300 divided by 800. For department C, it is 200 only. So 1,60,000 into 200 divided by 800. Ultimately, we are distributing. Ultimately, what we are doing? Ultimately, we are distributing 1,60,000 in the ratio of 300 is to 300 is to 200. So this is the way. So 1,60,000 into 300 divided by 800, 1,60,000 into 300 divided by 800, and 1,60,000 into 200 divided by 800. So this is the concept of ratio. I hope your query is resolved. I think one more girl posted the same query, sir, distribute कैसे करना है. It's a very basic calculation of ratio analysis, guys. Mr. Togi, don't worry. Once once I complete the redistribution, part, you will be thorough that what will be the difference between non-reciprocal and direct redistribution method. Don't worry. Let me complete with one question on non-reciprocal. I'll try to explain the difference. Okay, Gunjan, when talking about, see, the point is that I have to complete the chapter in a limited time. So whatever the best possible, whatever the best possible, I try to cover within that frame of time. So more or less, yes, this much teaching is sufficient, but still, you have to read the study material also. My lectures will help you to solve all the practical question plus few theory question. But yes, you need to read the study material. अगर आपको इंस्टीट्यूट ने कुछ प्रोवाइड किया है तो उसका कुछ ना कुछ तो यूज है. So better read the study material once. But yes, this much explanation is sufficient. But yes, you can't take chances. It's a CA exam, so don't take chances. But yes, try to memorize the concept. You will be able to solve all the practical question. But yes, for theory purpose, you need to read the study material. Thank you so much, Sushil. Thank you so much, Preeti. Mitesh Bhai Patel, I think you have not joined. I think you were not there in the class. Please check the recorded session. You'll be able to understand everything in detail, that what is the meaning of reciprocal and non-reciprocal. A few chapters are removed, Manish Kumar. I'll be discussing this part over a period of time. So, guys, that's it for the day. God bless you. See you in the next class with the remaining part of the chapter. In the meanwhile, I suggest you to revise what I have discussed in this session. In the next session, I'll be discussing many practical questions. All the practical questions on the remaining methods that are pending of related to redistribution. So be prepared, revise what I have discussed till now. See you in the next class. Thank you so much for your time and patience, and thank you so much for active participation. Have a great day. Sir, I'm done.